Welcome to Cow Horse Full Contact by Ben Self with host Chris Dawson and Russell Dilday.
Cow Horse Full Contact is a view into the industry from our eyes, seeing some of the people that we've seen and grown up with, and getting to hear some of the stories we've loved our whole cow horse lives and would like to share with you. And along the way, we might come up with a little bit of information that helps you on your journey in the cow horse.
Here we are.
Here he is.
Here he is. The one, the only, the bearded wonder.
Yes, beard with a
That's
man.
what I like to say, Wade Sundell's illegitimate brother.
Yeah, who doesn't think that?
I saw Shane Smith and the Saints the other day. They've got a fiddle player that looks a lot like this guy too.
Really?
Yeah, he wears overalls and no shirt. He's got a beard and a fiddle. So here we have everyone. 4, not once, not twice, not 3 times, 4-time AQHA world champion working cow horse, Matt Koch.
Against all odds.
Against all odds.
No one can do that 4 times.
Maybe
in a
the
row.
skinniest member. The skinniest member of the NRCHA with the biggest beard.
I'm sure glad I said yes to come and do this. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
With that big old beard in a windstorm, you wonder if it would pick him up a little bit.
No, he says it blocks the wind.
Yeah. Well, and then when you get the ice and the snow frozen there, it gives you a little more weight.
Yeah, we were talking earlier. Was it 6 degrees or minus 6 degrees the other day?
-6 when I
Minus
was
6.
doctoring some calves. Yeah. Luckily there wasn't that many because my medicine was freezing.
You got to be able to rope with the medicine under your armpit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm learning these secrets off and on. Yeah. Yeah. And you just make sure you have something that has a lot of long hair on it that you're riding. So. Yeah, so you keep one of them around with no shoes on so you can go haul bud around in the ice and the snow.
Thank you, Sergeant Pepper.
Yes, the Sergeant Pepper.
Not a place to drop your shoulders.
No.
No.
No, you hope like heck you can sneak shot them or, yeah, darn sure catch them on the first shot.
For anybody that hasn't checked out Reined Cow Horse Training online, there's a video of Matt on the side hill there, kind of in the same area where we're talking about doctoring these cows. And, there's some video of him galloping along up and down the hill, kind of looking like the man from Snowy River.
Marlboro Man, baby.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's epic.
Epic.
I mean, he is epic.
So glad you could join us, Matt.
Well, yeah, glad I could get out of the snow yesterday and make it down.
Right? No, we try and do this together a few times a year. Mm-hmm. Either at your house or my house. Get together and hang out a few days, work horses, go on to a horse show, or come home, in my case, in summertime.
Yeah.
But just want to let the public know about one of the best-kept secrets. The man, the myth, the legend. The fence work legend.
I don't know about all that.
Matt Koch.
I hear he is so powerful.
So we totally have to start with that. Her name. We have a question here. Do you know Kim Rounds?
Mm-hmm.
You do? Well,
yeah.
So our question from Kim Rounds to our friend Matt Koch is, you are so powerful down the fence. What are your 3 biggest pieces of advice going down the fence, or even teaching one to go down the fence? Not 100% sure what that means, but
Well,
I don't know what you've done to her, but something powerful.
first off, don't lose your hat.
Yes.
Don't fall off.
That's 2.
2. Yeah, I don't know what
That's
the third.
pretty much. Don't lose your hat. Maybe
yeah.
don't lose your hat again.
Yeah,
Duck,
that's it.
dodge, dive, duck,
Yeah,
dodge.
That's about it.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Yep.
there's
Stay in the saddle.
Stay in the saddle.
Keep your hat on.
Yeah, go where the cow goes.
There, that's 3.
Yeah.
3. Perfect.
You just
Got
gotta
it.
stay with him.
Mystery solved.
Yeah, it's
He's
real
high.
complicated training program I have.
He's always hiding his secrets.
He is. No, I don't.
Yeah.
People have said that about me, and I'm like, no, you just don't believe me.
Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, I mean, that's, yeah,
It can't be that simple.
We're really not that smart.
no, that's what I always tell people. Horse trainers are not very intelligent, so this can't be much to this.
How would they be here if they were? They wouldn't be here. They wouldn't be here.
No, there's way easier ways to make a living.
Yeah, if we were going to work this hard, we could make a lot more money doing something else.
Yeah.
Shout out Mickey D's.
You get free food there?
Maybe if we plug them enough.
I mean, if you're working there.
Oh, discounted, I think.
Surely.
Yeah. I don't. We should. Lee Deacon used to work for McDonald's in Australia.
Oh, really?
Yep. We'll have to get him on here and talk a little McDonald's.
There you go.
So where'd you start at, Matt?
So
From the very beginning.
From the very beginning.
Not the other day. I mean, way back.
Oh, way back. I
on.
grew up in Kansas, the northeast part of Kansas. Heck, we didn't even know any of this stuff existed.
Common theory. Common thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, my grandpa traded horses and farmed, and my uncle farmed. My dad and my other uncle owned a cabinet shop, and so we just kind of always had horses around, and we'd gather wild cattle for farmers around there. So that was kind of the only reason we had horses. I mean, I didn't know what Leeds was. I never seen a horse show, nothing. Then I went to college in Lamar Community College in Colorado there, and kind of seen what, I mean.
Did you do some junior rodeo stuff?
We did the team pinning.
Team pinning?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and then I rode broncs a little bit.
Cold country, bronc riders, that's where they all come from.
Yep, and then we team roped some. But, yeah, mostly it was just all kind of just using them to go gather cattle. I mean, we didn't, like, my uncle ran a bunch of yearlings and stuff, but we never used horses really to sword or work them through the chute or anything like that. We did it all afoot, so.
And you gathered with horses, or?
No, like the feedlot pen stuff, we gathered them all afoot. Yep, so if you were late.
So you caked them in.
Yeah, you'd get them in out of the pasture with cake, and then, like, say, in the wintertime when they were in the feedlot pens or whatever, you'd go out there in your 5-buckle overshoes and go.
So you started working on this physique.
Yeah. Yes. All this fine tuning and yeah. So, like, say, if you were late gathering a pen of cows afoot, you ran a lot.
Oh,
So
yeah.
for those of you that don't know Matt, he would fit in with the marathon runners. maybe minus the leg muscles.
Ouch.
And the ability to
Ouch.
run.
Desire.
Yeah, the desire. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I hate running for no reason. Ugh.
Robert Smith posted something on Facebook this morning, and it said, "If I'm running, you should run too, because something's chasing me."
It's not a place to be.
You don't want to be there.
Yeah.
So you guys, you got them in on foot to doctor them and everything, then, huh, Matt?
Yep. All with shoots and stuff like that. So yeah. So then that, and then went, like I say, when I went to Lamar and I rodeoed there and went through the horse training program, and then they sent me to Lloyd Cox's on my internship, is where I kind of got my first introduction to the horse show world.
Very cool.
So I showed up to Lloyd's, and they're like, "Well, here's 32 head of 2-year-olds, get started." And that was the only instruction I had. And same thing, it was about 15 degrees that first week I was there, with 8 inches of snow on the ground. And I would just grab them colts and I'd lead them into the bronc pen and get them started. And I'd start about 8 a day, no lunch. I had a 6-pack of Dr. Pepper that I lived on for 2 days. I didn't realize them guys were all going into the barn where the coffee was in the heat. Nobody told me that was acceptable. They told me to go do something, and I just went and did it.
So
We were just talking about how you get in the foot. You put your foot in the door.
there, yeah, and someone
Show
tried
you
to
work
close
hard.
it.
You work hard and cheap.
Yeah, that's it. So I remember, like, the first horse I started was Hip Adams.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, he went through the cut and futurity sale, and he was at Lloyd's, and he was the slickest, quietest looking horse there. So, colt. So I started him, and I had like 3 rides on him. Well, that was my snubbing horse, because I had a bunch of them dual rays that may have been halter broke, supposedly.
Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't think they
Yeah.
were. So, like, I had this 3-ride colt, and I'd go in them pins, and I'd rope those dual rays and get them haltered, and we'd get them drug into the other pin, and
What kind of pin? A round pin?
Yeah, it was a solid sided, like 8-foot tall round pin is where I was starting them. So
How big?
40, 50 foot.
Small one.
Yeah, it was a nice death trap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you weren't, and I was out there by myself. I could have been dead for 2 days, and I don't know if they'd even have noticed.
Hey, did that guy come in for any more Dr. Pepper last week? I don't know.
Yeah.
Which
Some
guy?
months ago.
Which guy?
What guy?
Yeah, that's it.
You know, the one with the beard. Well, he don't have
Oh, that
one
was
yet.
that wasn't a
He
beard.
doesn't have
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
Pre-beard.
Yeah, pre-beard.
The bulky guy. So where did you ride broncs before you went there? Just at local rodeos?
Yeah, local
or-
rodeos and at college rodeos. And so, yeah, so I bet I rode broncs for 3 or 4 years pretty hard.
Ever touch on the PRCA
No,
at all?
I
or-
thought about it. I went out at the NFR and watched it one time and seen the people that kind of followed that, and that was kind of around that, and I just that didn't seem like the scene like that I wanted to go follow, so I kind of gave up the bronc riding. And
How did you
moved on.
practice your bronc riding?
So we had at college we'd practice 3 days a week. We had practice horses and everything. So you just get on as many as you wanted.
So you didn't bronc ride till you got to college?
Well, I did in high school some. Yep,
How
just
did
towards the end, just riding colts. Yep.
Just riding?
Mhm.
Just go
Yep.
to it.
Yep, I just entered up and figured it out.
Take that.
Yeah, yeah.
This
Yeah.
should be easy.
Yeah, same-
8 seconds.
That's it. And they're going to buck. So
yeah, that's going to
yeah,
work.
Yeah, when they crack that gate, they're going to come out and it's going to be game on. So it ain't no real big surprise.
And team roped before you went to college?
Yep, just a little bit. We built an arena at the house and just kind of piddled. I mean, same thing, not much guidance, just kind of went at it.
Mostly
piddled.
team pinning, though.
Mostly team pinning, yeah.
And that, was it pretty big there in Kansas
It was,
at
yeah.
that
So
time?
back there, it was real big. Yeah,
was so
all
what
the county
year?
fairs. It would have been like 2000, right around in there.
Oh, it was cranking.
Yep.
Really cranking then, huh?
Yep. And so, like I say, we could just take those kind of just half broke horses we had that we used to gather cattle, them wild cattle on, and that's what we took to town. And
Where did you get your horses at? Early on.
the sale barn. Yeah, most of them were about $300 to $500. Mm-hmm.
So a little extra income turning them over?
Yeah, so I'd go to them sale barns and I kind of started trading horses. I'd have 20, 30 head around there, and I'd buy them, shoot anything from 2 to 5 years old and start them, put 60, 90 days on them, and then sell
Turn
them.
them over.
Yep. And if I got 1,000 to 1,200 for them, I was getting something.
Killing it.
I mean to tell you.
Rolling in the dough.
Yeah.
Now buy me a new set of overshoes.
Yep, exactly.
Something a little sleeker.
Yep.
What? How is it you're pinning and you're team roping and you're trading horses? They're only $300, and you never took them in to get the cattle out.
I just wasn't so back there. The farmers were like, "Well, horses make cattle wild."
Wild, see, that's
Yep.
what I was wondering. Yeah,
Yep.
because they'll come to a grain sack. Go in there the first few times you go with farming cattle on a horse.
Yeah,
it's a disaster.
Yeah, and the fences aren't real great, and it's all electric fence, and it's mud. Like back there, it's muddy. Probably even worse than here. Like muddy. I don't even know if you could get horses around in a lot of times.
So I know we've used for non-pros, we'll make them get off and cut a foot and stuff like that. So I'm thinking that you got years of experience working cows afoot. You're going to get a little smart about where you need to be on a cow. I mean, if you lose this son of a gun, you're afoot through the mud.
Yeah,
Here we
and
go.
You're getting lots of motivational speaking
Right.
towards you.
Do you- I love that motivational speaking. Yeah, I think Todd Crawford and Don Murphy had some motivational speaking.
Motivation.
yeah, because you were not gonna weaken.
Well, it's got to remind you of Mick saying, "Hey, Rocky, catch that chicken."
Yeah, that's
Figure out how to cut the corner off.
Oh
baby.
yeah, that's exactly it.
better-
Yeah, and when you weigh 60 pounds and
Yeah, just throw him down if he tries to run over you.
Yeah.
Not.
yeah,
So that makes sense. I can see that a lot. So flat country, there where you were in Kansas?
no, so we were east of all that, so it was real kind of rocky and real hilly and lots of brush and trees, and so everything that wasn't farmed was pasture. So it was some small, 40 acres was a big pasture back there, or 80 acres. But I mean, it was brush, plum thickets and all that. And so that's where we had to go get those cattle out of. So a lot of times you might have to get on your hands and knees and go into this brush and knock these cows out so that somebody could try to get them roped.
Get a rope on them. Yeah.
And then,
Small clearings.
Yeah. And so you only had, 100 yards, if that, a lot of times to get them caught. And then same thing, we never we never dallied really. I learned how to rope tied on hard and fast, just so
So
if
you didn't
you
lose
caught them, yeah, you had them. And the wonderful horses we were riding, they didn't even know the cattle were in the pasture. So,
A lot of times the benefits being tied on is you can use both hands
yes,
to point them at the cow.
or you just jump off
Or
and
leave.
said, "Best of luck, buddy." Yeah.
We'll track you
Yeah,
down. When you guys wrap around a tree, we'll come and sort
Yeah,
it
so
out.
like I say, they weren't tied to a cow real good, so you had to tie them to
Literally.
a cow. Yeah. Yeah, I've tore saddles off. I mean, everything. Yeah.
And of course, the reason you got to do that is because the farmers, those cattle were the ones that couldn't get. They didn't have any way to get them. And you can make them wild if you wanted. Because
they were already wild, so
go at it.
yeah, horses are entered.
Yeah.
You couldn't shoot them with a tranquilizer gun because it was too brushy. So
Right.
yeah, no, there was.
And then you'd still have to drag them out even if you did. Mm-hmm. Still got to get them out.
Yep, no, that's it. And like the ditches and everything were so deep around there, a lot of times you couldn't get trucks and trailers where you needed to get them pulled in. And we didn't have any half tops back there because most of them cattle would just jump out. And so like you'd have to rope them with a second rope and wrap it to the trailer, and then you'd kind of inch them in there little by little. Well, that's where when you're riding these wonderful horses. Like, I remember one day I had one roped, and we had it roped second, a foot, and then wrapped it in the trailer. About that time, my horse checks out. I'm like, best of luck, buddy, I'm out. I just jump off, and it hits the end of this rope. I've got like a 1,200-pound cow roped, so it's tied to my horse, and it's tied to the trailer, and this horse takes off like wide open, and it hits the end, it rips both D-rings out, pulls, and then splits the breast collar in half and just shucks that saddle plumb off the back of that horse. They say it lifted that cow like 3 foot off the ground when it all hit. But I think we had like 3 of them to rope that day. Well, then
You're out of luck.
Without any gear.
So I was riding bareback the rest of the day, and I was pushing stuff out of the brush on this fine animal.
You're the bird dog.
Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, that was plenty exciting.
So then is the rope long enough that the cow with the saddle tied to it can get to the truck after the horse
So
left?
they didn't, luckily it had the second rope from the cow to the trailer they still had just a little bit left. So it was still attached to the trailer.
Safety first.
Yeah. Yeah,
Safety
exactly.
first.
Yeah.
So you got brothers and sisters?
I do. Yeah, I got a brother and a sister. Yep.
How old are they?
My brother's probably 30 and my sister's 28, maybe something like that.
And in comparison to you, how old are you then?
So 36.
So they're quite a bit. You're the oldest.
Yeah, I'm the oldest. Yep.
You're the oldest.
Yep.
Okay.
So did you have them out there afoot gathering also?
No, they were a little smarter than me. They never really took into this too much.
They just took a look and said,
Yeah, they're like,
whoa.
yeah, no thanks.
They say Will Rogers said there's those that learn from watching, those that learn from reading, and those that have to pee on the electric fence themselves.
Yeah.
and that'll learn you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
And
yeah,
then
it
some,
wasn't.
And then some guys just keep peeing on it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I haven't got any smarter.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right. So your dad and your uncle have the cabinet shop all the way still?
Yep, they still own it. Yep, they solo. I mean, it's a pretty good-sized cabinet shop. They employ I don't know how many people and ship cabinets all over the country. My dad kind of got out of it a little bit and retired, but my uncle's still running it real strong. And
Did you work in there some?
oh yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I hate wood and sawdust and yeah.
He does a darn good job though. I've had some saddle racks that he built when I was leasing Robbie Boyce's place. They were top of the line saddle racks.
Nice.
Handcrafted.
He's always got that to fall back on.
Always got that to fall back
You know?
on.
Yeah.
Like if his bodybuilding career kind of hits the skids or something after the
Yeah. Yeah. If my modeling career doesn't work out. At least
hand
I can-
modeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows? So it's good to have a broad portfolio.
Exactly. Diversity.
Yeah.
Diversity is key.
So knew you weren't going to do that early on.
Yeah,
The
no,
woodworking.
yeah, I didn't, like I say, it
Didn't
never
hook to
did.
it.
Didn't hook. And then I worked in, like I say, I'd helped build a lot of stuff after school, growing up in the welding shop for them, like racks and duct work and stuff like that. And so I learned how to weld and do all that stuff, which came in real handy. And I do enjoy doing that. Like I say, that's what I usually do on my, like today's we're not working horses or whatever. We'll go fence and weld and build stuff. And like I say, that's pretty fun.
Have you messed with building bits?
Just a little bit. Like same thing, that hadn't really, I mean, I didn't really feel like that was my deal.
I can interject a little here. That Matt is a heck of a welder and a builder. I don't know that intricateness in his welding.
That's how I was going to say.
Yeah, no.
Not a lot of measuring goes on. It's like,
There's framers and there's cabinet builders.
Yep.
There's pipeliners and there's jewelers.
Yeah. Function over
I'm
form
with you.
for me.
Got
yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
The term tactician comes to mind when I think of Matt Koch.
Yeah, Chris got to help build some gates this summer.
Up a little on that end.
Yeah.
That'll do right there.
Yep, looks good.
Yeah.
First time I run a cow into it, it's going to change anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Preloaded a little.
Yeah.
So head off to college. Got any idea what you're doing when you go there? Or
no, not
just
a clue. I seen an ad in Western Horseman that you could go to college and go learn how to train horses. So that's kind of the only reason. I wasn't even planning on going to college. So like at the end of high school, I leased a farm, and that's just kind of what I figured I'd do, is just farm and ride some colts in the off season, and that was it. And so then went to Lamar and was kind of introduced to this whole world, and that's how it started.
What were you farming?
Oh, we had mostly just row crop, beans and milo and some corn and so.
And not even really thinking about running cattle.
No, I mean just a little bit more of the farming, and then just run a few calves, and then like some trader horses and stuff I'd have turned out on stocks and stuff like that, but that was it.
Did your horse riding, was it all outside when you were young? No indoors or nothing?
Yep, no indoors, nope.
Back when you weren't a sissy like now.
Exactly, where you can go to that wall and flip that switch on and turn that heat on.
Gotta love that switch.
Yeah.
So we got to college, doing a little saddle bronc riding, decide we're not doing that, go to Lloyd's, get to riding some colts, and then what?
So while I was at Lloyd's, I met Jamie Snyder was working there at that time, and his dad, Larry, had a ranch north of Lloyd's, about 45 minutes. When I got done with my internship at Lloyd's, I went and worked for Larry and he ran about between 300 and 500 head of yearlings every summer, and then just kind of helped be a ranch hand there and take care of cattle. And in the winters, Lloyd would send all his colts up, and I'd start them all in the wintertime, and then in the spring we'd get yearlings in, and that's what I did all spring and summer. And I think I did that for 3 or 4 years. So that was kind of I'd start almost 100 head of colts every year between Lloyd's and then a bunch of outside horses.
And you up there, how long are you keeping them colts?
So between 30 and 60 days. I mean, they, like Lloyd and them guys, they just wanted them gentle enough and kind of started on the flag where they could just go right to riding them, where they just saddle them up and go to work. So I'd go get, between 6 and 10 every month or whatever, and just rotate them through there and then just hand them off. And like the ones that didn't want to get gentle or were a little tougher, I'd just keep those until they were ready for them. And then same thing, I would trade a bunch of horses too, so I always had some older horses around to go do the ranch work on, and doctored a lot of yearlings by myself and stuff like that.
How much exposure did you get to the actual cutting industry there while you were at Lloyd's?
I think I worked one non-pro horse one time.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep, and that was it. Yep.
That was something I've always kind of wondered, is what made you gravitate more to the cow horse, like when you were in that scenario, and you were, super involved there in the cutting with Lloyd, and why that you didn't venture that direction more. But
because I was a crash dummy, more or less, and like my only job was to ride broncs, and
That was your skill.
Yeah, that
Your
was
value.
It. That's it. So, and I didn't really have much desire, I don't think, to show or anything like that. I mean, I just thought riding colts was good, and then I was having a pretty good time cowboying and all that stuff, and so heck, I never thought I'd ever be showing.
And have you seen the cow horse yet?
No. I think the first time I'd ever even seen a horse turn around was Lloyd's horseshoer. Russell Speaker he was kind of showing some cow horses in the non-pro deal, and he come out one day and got on one of my using geldings and got to piddling with him and made him spin there in the alley, and I was like, holy cow, that's kind of cool. And then could run and stop and stuff like that. And I bet I'd seen some video, but not enough to know. I'd seen some of the California style, and I thought that was a way better deal than what I grew up doing. So I kind of started packing a longer rope and got a Wade saddle, and that's kind of how I got that style. Is it just seemed it fit better what I was doing than the tied on hard and fast, and because I was riding so many colts and green horses and having to do a job, and it just seemed easier on those horses and the cattle,
and not so risky.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So your style for starting the colts, how did you come up with that?
Through trial and error, really, and then like going through college, they kind of helped you. I mean, kind of threw some stuff in there, and then there was a guy at Lloyd's, Randall Cameron, that started all his colts that I learned a lot from there too. And so it's just kind of pick and choosing what was, I mean, for me, it's whatever's the most efficient. So like we cut a few corners and stuff like that, and they may not be as gentle as some people would want them before we put that first ride on them, but doing it the way I've always done it, it's just you kind of learn how to get around them, and by the end of 30 days, they're gentle. They may not be the first time you get on them, but 30 or 60 days in, they kind of settle down.
Wear down, yeah.
Yeah, you just kind of get on and go.
So how did you do it at first?
So at first, like back in Kansas, it was, I had a series of books. I don't know, even know when they were made, in the 40s or 50s maybe, Professor Barry's Horse Training and something or other. And I read through them, and I was like, all right, got it.
Got it.
Enter up. I got bucked off a lot. The ones that I couldn't ride, I'd called the neighbor who was a big dairyman, and he'd come over and snub me a foot.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah. So I'd get on these, and these things are like 4- and 5-year-olds. I mean, they were not good horses at all. And so you'd get hunkered down in the middle, and the neighbor, he'd hook it around his waist or whatever, and these things would go to bucking, and he'd kind of hold on and then turn you loose, and away you go.
And so what, at that time, in a pretty open lot or a
No,
smaller
I did.
pen?
I did build a 50-foot round pen because I'd seen that in a magazine or something.
Benefits of being able to weld.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Got that going for you.
So I had that going. So so that was kind of the first start, and then I've just honed that wonderful skill. Like I say, when showing up to Lloyd's and having that many to start, it just gave you, like what I learned at college, what they showed us there. I mean, a little bit of round pin work, and then just get on more or less and go get them freed up. And so I practiced that a lot at Lloyd's. I mean, I might only rode them twice in that round pin and opened the door, and out to the big country we went. And that seemed to be the fastest, most efficient way. And so like when I started out on my own riding all those colts for Lloyd's and those outside horses, well, the number one game is how many can you get rode in a day, because that's how you make the most money. So like I say, it might have been a little more Western than it probably should have been, but you could ride through a pile of them by just crawling on, open the gate, and away you go.
Let's go. And so what were you starting out in there? Halter, hackamore,
Yeah,
snaffle?
shoot, I've tried every way you could imagine. And so, like, I think back then I might have rode them the first day in a halter and then put a snaffle on them. Just made sure you had a little bend each way so you had a little bit of direction, and away you went. Hobbled them to saddle and stuff like that. Yep.
A lot of sacking out, or just get the saddle on?
You just get the saddle on. Yeah. No, they'll get gentle eventually.
Especially when the funnest part's riding anyways.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, because I've had it where my pins were too muddy, like where I was starting them and stuff, and so I've just taken them and would snub them up on a big flat, or just pony them into a big flat, and then I would hobble that horse I ponied them out there on, and just get on them colts on a big old flat, and it'd be 3/4 mile to a fence or a canyon or whatever, and away you'd go. And that was probably the fastest, most efficient way, but it was a titch wild. Yeah, they can run mucho fast with no fences to slow them down. But they'd always, if they got real scared, they'd always come back to that snubbing horse, it seemed like eventually. I mean, it may take you a while, but they'd make it back there.
When there's nothing to hit, it really it's not so bad. You know?
Yeah, as long as you don't see like a 5-wire fence coming or something like that, it wasn't bad. Like running off in the canyons and stuff, that was a little, but yeah.
Yeah.
most of the time they'd try to save their life. The ones that didn't, well,
Just stay above the saddle.
yeah, exactly.
If they go down, don't have a foot in the stirrup, just stay above the saddle, hit and roll, get back on if you
you
can.
get really good at hitting the eject button.
Yes.
Getting out of there.
Yep. Just don't be hung.
Yes. Yeah.
No, you can't get hurt if you don't get hung. And they don't land on you. It's not that big a deal.
No.
Once you get over the initial panic.
Yeah, you just can't show your fear.
No, because they can feel it. And that's not fair to them.
No, exactly. They've got enough fear. They don't need yours too.
Yeah. You're supposed to be the adult.
Yeah, that's right. You're supposed to be guiding them.
Yeah, you're the
Show
genius.
them the way.
Genius that left the wood shop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Had all figured out.
Yeah.
So we're riding some outside horses for Lloyd. Got the yearlings in the probably keeping a few horses over for the yearlings. What your trading horses?
Yeah, my trading horses, which I think I'd almost been better off using colts most of the time because them trader horses were not so good.
Yeah, they got a few hang up buttons.
Yeah, yeah. There's a reason they were at the sale barn for cheap.
It wasn't. They weren't all there because of a divorce.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So, yeah, so you learn to get around some stuff that you hope that not very many people have to learn to get around.
Did you go back to the trader barn with Minnie, or did you sell most of them outside?
Most of them outside. I mean, the ones that you didn't really want to sell to anybody to have come back, I'd just take them back and let the next poor fella figure it out.
Let the
Let
next
that
wise
horse teach
guy.
somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I got
hog all the education.
I got I went ahead and got the education there. So
then, where do we go from there?
So from there, I worked there for, like I say, 3 or 4 years. And then I loaded all my stuff and moved to California to live with a buddy that was shoeing horses out there. And it happened to be about 15 minutes from Don Brown up in Northern California. So so I was moved in with that buddy, found a little barn to lease right there, and then started riding some outside colts along with helping shoe. So like on the weekends, we'd go shoot 18, 20 heads, something like that. And then during the week, I had 10 or 12 colts to ride. Well, I say colts, I think I was out there for 7 or 8 months, and I think I started 1 2-year-old. Everything else was 5. I think the oldest one was 12 that I started. But they packed him a few times.
Oh my God. It is such a different world with starting strong horses.
Oh man, like half drafts. I mean everything. Like, yeah,
you're with them. You're just with them.
Yeah.
It's not I'm gonna this, I'm gonna that. It's like,
No.
hey, would you let me?
Yeah, would you please? Well, then that's how you start. Like, I think at one time I had that 12-year-old, and then I had that half draft, and I think I had to start one or the other, and I had an 8-year-old Mustang. So I had to start, I think, the 12-year-old, so I had something big enough to snub them other horses with, because my few little ranch horses I brought were not near strong enough for those.
Just weights.
Yes.
They were just weights.
Yeah, that's it. It kind of slowed them down.
Kind of like your dairyman snubbing you.
Yes.
Foot.
Yeah.
When this horse runs off with my snubbing horse, he might get tangled up in his feet and slow him down.
I may have a
It's gonna
chance
build
then.
confidence. Gotta be careful how much confidence you let them horses build right there. Find out they can pull anything.
Yeah. So I'm out there. I think I was there for a year, somewhere around there. And right there towards the end, Don Brown, he showed up and introduced himself and started coming around and harassing everybody around there like Don Brown does. He's like
Captain Powder Puff.
Oh yeah, yes, that's it. So that was kind of my first introduction to the cow horse world, was him. Then he's like, all right, so you probably need to get out of Siskiyou County out here and go work for somebody. I'm like, yes, sir. So he gives me some numbers to call and some guys, and that's when I called Robbie Boyce and met Robbie. And so I called him and said, hey, I think it was like May or June or something like that. I said, I got to finish some colts up out here. I get them done. I mean, he's like, yeah, come on whenever. And said, all right, I'll be down in July or August or something like that. So I go down there to Robbie's and work for him.
And he was in Jacksboro.
He was in Jacksboro. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think I worked for Robbie for 8 months, a year, or something
when
like
we
that.
met.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's when we met.
Yeah. I guess I was still at Carroll. Was I still at Carroll?
I think so. Yep. Mm-hmm.
06, maybe?
Yeah, somewhere out in
6,
there.
7?
Yep. So I went to Robbie's. Same thing. Just rode colts for him. Kind of seen some of the stuff. Same thing. I don't really remember much about the horse training deal. I just rode the colts I was assigned to and helped out around there and met those guys. And then I had built saddle racks. Yeah. And then from Robbie's one winter, I can't remember how it worked. I had some horses. Somehow, when I was in Colorado, I went and bought some yearlings from Haythorns at their sale. And then they were eligible they have a little futurity up there. And so I had those horses at Robbie's. And so when that futurity came about, I hauled those colts up to Haythorns and showed them. And then Craig offered me a job when I was up there anytime I wanted it. And so come springtime, I left Robbie's and went up to Haythorns.
So is that your first show?
I may have showed at some little ranch horse stuff, I think. Yep. Like when I was at Robbie's, I think I went to some ranch horse deals and stuff like that. I had never shown in the cow horse yet.
When you went to Haythorns, was it as a colt starter, a trainer? I mean,
I wasn't really sure what it was. So I knew
job.
It was a job, and it looked cool up there. And like I say, heck, get to go cowboy with a good crew. Let's go try it. Heck, it was. I'd been at Robbie's for 8 months. It was time to go see some other country.
Damn gypsies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Saddle tramp.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, throw your bedroll in and 2 horses, and north I went. And it was starting to get hot in Texas. I was like, I'm out. Yeah.
I think that's when we started running into each other. Like I was coming up there, I had left Carroll's, I had been fired, and so I was venturing all around the country to find horse shows to go to, and I think that's when we kind of started hanging out. It was up there
at Matt Koch.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I think I had 1 or 2 personal horses that I was trying to show then, and then I had some ranch geldings that I was just kind of riding around for Haythorns, and so I'd go to them. They'd let me go to them little shows, and I'd pay kind of my own way, and so you got real smart on the classes you entered and how much money you could spend. And shoot, I would just take a bedroll and sleep on the back of the pickup or crash in somebody's hotel room or whatever.
Yep. And so what hooked you?
I think it was just the people a lot, and that is like, to me, the cow horse deal is just like souped up ranch horses. I mean, you can go use them and then take them on the weekends and go show them, and it seems like it went together. And so, and like I say, the people were real inviting, and it was just a lot of fun.
So when did you start heading towards, say, fraternities or the bigger event?
09, I think I probably went. No, it had been 2010 because Blue Blood was an 08 model. And so I went out to the Snaffle Bit Futurity and watched it for the first time in 09, I think was the first time. And the second time I seen it was 2010, and that's when I bought SDP Blue Blood. He was just, I went out there, I sold some ranch geldings that fall for pretty good money, and so I had some money to spend. So I went out there and was just watching the sales, and this giant roan.
He outbid me on that horse.
That's what you get for being a tightwad.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I think I sold that gelding for $12,000, and I think I got Blue Blood bought for $10,000 at the 2-year-old sale.
Making money.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I thought, well, shoot, if he don't make a stud, because Haythorn said they'd kind of partner with me if I found something I liked. I said, well, if he doesn't make a stud or whatever, we can geld him and get our money back selling this ranch gelding. Well, heck, I didn't know what the heck I had. I mean, so I get him bought, drag him back home. And then, like in the winters, Craig was real good about letting me go to Darren Miller's in the wintertime and kind of go get some help from Darren. And so that's when I had Blue Blood and all that kind of, and that's when I met Brianna, was during that time. And so, yeah, he was kind of my real first futurity horse.
Showed him just level 1, right?
Yep, just in level 1.
So Matt hits lots of demographic points. He's come through the level 1. He's come to the ranching program. Just at level 1 too. Didn't even interrupt. What would you have made? Would you made the finals? Would you made the open?
I'd have made not the open. I think I'd have just barely missed him, but I'd have made the intermediate, the limited. I mean, I'd have made all them other.
Right. That was that the first? That might have been the first year we had the level 1 fraternity.
It was. Mm-hmm. Yep. Nope. That's it. Yeah. So, but heck, I was paying my way. And on cowboy wages, there was no way I could have spent the money to enter the open or any of that. So I had to I took him and one other one, I think, for the level 1 futurity. And I owned him, and Haythorns owned the other one. And then I showed, I think 2 in the limited open Hackamore, the big blue roan horse Haythorne's owned, and I owned a gelding above the best Tonino that I showed. And so that same year I won the level 1 in the futurity on Blue Blood, I won the limited Hackamore on the gelding of mine too. And that was kind of my first real hit at the horse shows.
That was everybody was like, who is this kid with the rope tied on? Were you showing in a wade saddle too?
No weights,
No
but
weight.
I had ropes and tie strings and hobbles. And
Yeah, I think I think you win the world before you took your rope off.
Yeah. When my wife started saddling horses, and she's like, you don't need all this crap on here.
Let's lighten this up a
Yeah,
little
exactly.
bit, for God's sake. That's so true. When you get to saddling a lot of them, you start.
Yeah, all that other stuff Now I just got it hanging all over and gates and fences. So when you need it, you just trot over and go grab it.
I know. I stripped the breast collars and everything off there for a while when I was really going. Like the lightest saddle I can find because we're trying to do a lot.
My wife does that all the time, takes my breast collars off and stuff on 2-year-old saddles. I hate it because I'm not nearly as agile.
Work on your posture.
Right, yeah.
Equitation.
Like, where in the heck are my breast collars at? Please.
Is the saddle horn supposed to be over here out of the shoulder, sticking straight out from the shoulder?
I don't know how many pockets I've ripped off shirts hanging that saddle horn on my shirt when it comes halfway over.
How about from the beginning with all those horses that are just horses and older horses, and then getting into the different bloodlines? What a difference you saw.
Yeah, they were just like riding stuff now that wants to get along and like just naturally goes with the cow. A lot of them horses in the past, they had some cow in there, but not any desire to really do it. So you had to do it all yourself. Well, now when you have those horses that want to help you and then you can help them, it just sure makes things a lot simpler.
What did you take from, when you were young, kind of have to defend yourself with all of them? And then you move to the better horses and you have to start letting them do it. But what do you hold on to from the beginning?
So I think just being able to go do a job with whatever you're riding or whatever situation arises. Like cowboying at Haythorns, like I had like the horses I went and showed, but I also took the rough string just because I didn't want them other cowboys to be able to talk crap, that I always just had the nice horses, So like I had some not nice horses, like stuff that would try to kill you and cow kick you and paw you and buck you down whenever during the day. And like I said, but like even those horses kind of just taught you what was actually necessary and that you needed in your training program and what was just kind of a bonus, as long as they go where you pulled them, you could perform any job. It didn't really matter.
You're kind of the cowiest one in the equation.
Yeah. Just as long as you could beat beat the situation, stay one step ahead of that cow or whatever, you could keep the herd from getting out or dragging a calf or roping the last calf or something like that.
It's a lot better than being afoot.
Yes. Yeah. Well, some days.
Some days.
Some days. Yeah.
Now and then.
There had been days I thought about tying my horse to the fence and working afoot.
Yeah,
I think
I'll just go do it.
Would have been easier.
Just worry about me for a minute.
I was on a 2-year-old one time and I couldn't didn't like the rope very much. I had to get off. I got off, put the cow in the lane and dogged it as it came by me and we doctored it.
Yeah. Sometimes that happens.
I'm ashamed to say it was a couple weeks ago.
The truth is he just missed 38 times in a row.
Yeah.
His arm gave out.
Got tired of my wife laughing at me.
Caught the post behind him.
You have any close calls with being maimed and not being able to do this anymore?
Yeah, lots. Yeah, probably the worst one was at Haythorns, and we were branding. I had this horse, and he was 5, and I'd started him when he was 2, but you'd only use him like spring works and fall works because he was not really that enjoyable to be around. And we called him the Antichrist. So, like, when you loaded him to go somewhere, like them other cowboys would make me go in the trailer to get him out before they'd go in there, because, he'd hunt you down. And we just kept thinking, well, he's going to get better eventually. Well, I don't think he did. But so we're in the Brandon pen, and I had to ride him in a Hackamore all the time, because if you put a bridle on him, he'd get mad and try to paw it off. But you could survive in this Hackamore to some extent. So we're in the crowd, and the last calf's in there. And it's always all right, I'm going to get him,
Yeah.
And so this calf comes running by, and I reach out there, and I rope him by the neck, and I dally. And about that time, I try to turn old Roni with that calf, and he just takes a hackamore, and he spins the other way. So I pop my dallies and kind of pitch my rope. But when I pitch it, somehow them coils went over my right foot and then bounced back up onto my horn.
Lucky.
Yeah, it was a great shot.
Wow.
So I've got this calf roped, and when everything comes tight, it takes my right foot and ties it to my saddle horn and flips my head in between his hooves down there.
This is on the Antichrist.
Yeah, this is on the Antichrist. And he's already been trying to kill me for 3 years anyway.
Right.
So he's
now
got
a
me.
real
He's
shot.
got me.
A
I'm
real
like,
shot.
Well, I'm done. So I curl up on the side, and I cover my head with my hands, just waiting to get knocked out, and see what happens. And he's pawing, and I'm losing skin off my knuckles and this and that. Well, they get the calf cut free. Well, that turns the calf loose, but I'm still tied to him because it's half hitched all sorts onto the saddle horn. And these cowboys finally get bailed on him and get him snubbed down.
Cowboys saved the cow first.
Yeah, they saved the cow. Yeah,
Lucky.
exactly. Cow hands come around. Yeah, they're all the time. No big
There's
deal.
hey, but that calf, it will bring something per pound.
Yeah.
He weighs like 80 pounds.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so they finally get jumped on his head, and they had to cut it like my rope off the saddle horn. And I come free,
And he was never down. He's standing up, getting a real shot at you.
Yeah, yeah. I never got knocked out, no nothing. And I think I still when they got it all everything cleaned up. They handed my rope back, and it was about half. I mean, it was probably only 30 foot long now. And heck, I went and out to the pasture and roped the calf and brought him back on that same sorry son of a gun. And,
You're not getting out of work that easy.
no, we still got to go, bud. Come on. But yeah, that was probably the closest I've been to dying anyways, horseback.
Don't lay around getting a suntan.
Those moments, man, they just
and
light
like
up
it was
your
in
mind.
slow motion. Like I'm telling him, like I'm talking to him, like, hey, you guys can cut my rope and get me free at any time here. And them guys are like, we are trying, but
We're doing
he is kicking and pawing and bucking and
It's a bad individual. We don't want to touch him.
no, they didn't want to touch him when he was just tied to the fence.
Why would we want? Why'd you get yourself in that mess?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
You got your foot tied to your horn.
I don't know how
And
exactly.
Was it still in the stirrup?
Yeah.
Just lucky.
Yeah, I don't say how I survived, and like they were letting cows and calves out because they were branded, and like say it was down to the last one, so there was gates open to the pasture and everything else. Like it should have finished me off.
Should have been the end.
Yeah.
Should have been the end.
But yeah, no, but it wasn't. Got pretty lucky that day.
I bet it didn't feel lucky. When you
No,
were
so that was like on a Thursday. And then the next day, we had to leave for Lusk, Wyoming to go to a WRCA ranch rodeo. And so I was riding broncs for them, too, at the rodeos. And Harry Vold just happened to have the broncs that weekend up there.
Oh, lucky
It was
again.
it was real good luck. And I draw this thing that two jumps me and lawn darts my butt. And I can't even move. And then I get mauled in the cow milk in, and I'm like, this week is terrible.
Could we just stop?
Yeah, I am done. This whole cowboy life is a terrible idea.
Cowboy life for me.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is you get real nervous when you go in the show pen.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of bad that can happen.
Yeah.
I mean, now that you don't carry a rope, you don't even have that to get tangled up with.
No, that's what I say. It's pretty well free roll.
Pretty much no way to get hurt now.
They got
Yeah.
the gate shut.
Gates are shut, ground soft. I mean, heck.
So have you had any wrecks in the show pen?
Yeah, I think I wrecked Blue Blood when he was a 4-year-old at San Angelo. It had been right after, because I won a level 1 that fall. And then,
2012.
yep. And then the next year, I went to San Angelo and was going down the fence and went to switch. I got both fence turns good and was circling, and I went to switch. And about that time, that cow just darted right in front of me. I switched at the wrong time. The cow was headed back towards the out gate. Lesson learned there. Don't switch when the cow is pointed at the outgate because they're going to go.
Quick learner.
Yeah. So now, I T-bone this thing. So when I hit, like, we're going fast, if that surprises you.
Shocking.
And, yeah. And like it hits, well, I see it coming. Like he goes down in the front end, so I just hit the eject button and shoot over his neck. And when I look over, poor Blue Blood is rolling over top of this calf. And he gets up.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, and he's like, "Thanks. Now what are we gonna do?"
Yeah.
Just no big deal. Didn't phase him a bit. It's like he'd been in bad situations before.
I've seen this show.
Yeah. But knock on wood, that's about the only time it's.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty good. You got it all out of your system early.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you ever hung up and drug
Lots.
in a stirrup?
Yes, lots. Yeah, I thought them oxbows were the way to go for a while. Those are not for me. Yeah.
More of a Monell man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like to get free.
Yes.
Yeah. Trying to think, like out in the pasture, step in a hole and they roll over you and hang a foot and drag you, or in the arena, a colt throw themselves.
That's such a terrible feeling when you feel it coming around you and you just feel yourself start going.
Yeah.
It's like, I wish my foot was not in that stirrup right
that's
now.
it. And you're like, there's a 50-50 chance it may come out. And then when it doesn't, you're like scraping and clawing. And I mean, anything. And then you feel them step on your back. And that's what pulls you out. And you're like, oh, thanks for stepping
God.
on me.
That was lucky.
Yeah, that's it. I got a broken rib, but I'm okay.
Could have been so much worse. I hate the thought of dragging and them cow kicking down on you.
Yes, right.
At the same time.
They're above your knee. Yeah.
I hate that.
Or when you crash them in in a sticker patch. That was always the worst too.
Yeah. One time I've got this knot head like the ones that pawed the heads all off. And so I'm going down the fence in front of my house. It's just a fence. There's no cow or nothing. I'm just going down it, and I'm going to turn him into it. He's not great with his right turn. So he bows up on me. So I bow up and think, oh, really? I'm going to show you because there's a corner coming up, and I'm not giving. You're going to eat it, or you're going to turn. He jumps. It's not a very high fence. He jumps, and he just clips his legs on the top rail. And when we land, in the air, it flips him, and I come out, and now when we hit on the side of a hill with his back down, I'm straddled him, but I'm straddled his belly. Oh. And he's a horrible pot licker. He's horrible. And my leg is stuck under him, and he will kick you. He's terrible to kick you. So I'm straddled his belly, and I get up in his flank as far as I can, so the legs are pawing behind me, but he can't get up because he's downhill. But we are in the biggest goat head patch. I hate those things, and he's just grinding me
and just breaking them off. And yeah, that's it. Like I had a brand new Windstopper jacket on one day, and like it's gonna be a real good collector of goat heads. And this colt, I'm holding a cow or something, he just trips and falls down, and I mean rolls over top of me, and I mean I've got him everywhere, and it looked like I'd been drugged for 3 miles when I got up. And I make it back to the herd, and them guys are like, "What happened?" I was like, "He tripped in a hole."
What have you been doing?
Yeah.
Goat heads.
Oh, they'll ruin your day.
And foxtails. Oh, I had one buck me off. And when they're just dry, that they'll blow off almost. No, I was doing what you said we were loading a cow, and this pot licker goes to bucking, and he wraps me he starts bucking and spins left. So he gets me wrapped up, and I'm having trouble getting my rope off, and he can buck. He's a little too strong. He just thumps me down in the foxtails, and they get in my clothes, like you said, and we get the cow loaded, but we got to go all day. And those nasty little foxtails, they're just all day. They're working in. I finally just cut my underwear off and threw them away because they were so full of them. I couldn't take it no more. I hate stickers.
Commando style.
Yeah.
What you have to watch in this country, there's a fair bit of cactus. You get here and get out west towards Graham, a lot of cactus. But then you have they call it jumping cactus. And jumping cactus is like cactus, but on speed. And there's like these little caterpillars with barbs on them. And they come loose when your horse hits them. And they will hang like right in their flank. And, mister, it will motivate you to ride well. We were hunting out. They'd had some cows get loose in Graham at a cutting one day. Like 75 head of cows. Blew the gates open at Graham. And my friends put this show on. My old neighbors there from Jacksboro, the McLaughlins, put this show on. They're like, hey, so we've been hunting these cows for a couple days, but we've got them. Like a couple got maybe killed on the road. And they got them all accounted for, but two. Can't find 2 cows. So Mama D, she says, I says, well, what do we need? She says, well, we really need to find these 2 cows. I'm like, all right. So I showed in the cutting or whatever. I come home and get a using horse. And by using horse, it's the colt that Sarah had started at Road to the Horse. And so it come from the 6s. I'm like, he knows about some of this rough stuff. It'll be all right. And he's not very broke. All right. I mean, she got through the obstacle course.
Right.
But now we're a few months later. And so I chuck a bridle on him and jump him in the trailer and head to Graham and drive around and find these 2 cows on this government pasture. And I get pulled in here, and it is solid cactus. I'm talking like you can't hardly walk without cactus. And this horse is not quite over bucking yet anyway. And he catches one of these jumping cactus, and these things are brushed up. And, I mean, I can't even pick my rope up. I mean, we're in the brush, and, I mean, it's all I can do just to find them, much less you're not getting them captured. You're just trying to keep an eye on them until somebody shows up with some dogs, and it will motivate you to ride, mister. Big time. He was a lot of animal. Like, he was a 3-year-old, and, yeah, it was very motivating.
Like that, you saw that movie where they take the Mustangs. What's the name of that one? Where they take the Mustangs from Mexico to Canada.
Unbranded.
I think Jerry Jones had something to do with that.
Unbranded or I can't remember, but
it's a Brianna has graced us with her presence.
Beautiful.
The better half of
the better half.
Matt Koch.
Everyone's got one.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. When that guy goes to pull that cactus out of that horse's nose, oh my Lord, that is awful.
Yeah, it's like when one gets into porcupines. That's not a good day to find one of those either.
I know that day I got back, I spent an hour pulling cactus thorns out of this horse's chest and front legs and hind legs, and they were poked everywhere. And I tell you what, surprisingly, it was a pretty good desensitizing drill.
Oh my God. Not one you want to go through, but
no.
So back to your early days of horse showing.
Yeah, there we got a little sidetracked right there.
I feel like we're scared people off of our event, but
well, that's not part of the event.
No,
I mean, you know,
right
now we're safety.
Yeah,
safety first.
There's easier ways to learn this stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
But Matt was always the guy that had his sawhorse out there and would be practicing his ranch roping shots, and so competitiveness level. The competitiveness
It's my
level.
speech therapist.
Yes.
And so we'd all like, shoot, I can do that. So we get to playing horse, right? Well, Matt is the undisputed champion. So I had to bring in a ringer, brought in a Don Benuelos to match him in the horse one day, and I think that was the only time he ever got beat.
Yeah,
but that was not fair.
Wow, that's I'm glad that you would say something about that guy like that, because you know he was reserve champion at the annual Tongue River Invitational Team Roping.
Reserve champion. Who was the champion?
Yours truly.
Just because the lights went out. I still had 5 steers left to run.
Nailed it. Got him.
I think you went and did something with the electricity that night.
What? Chris is so old he had to walk away. He's got a Charlie horse.
That's it. Needs to eat some more bananas.
Poor old guy. You know, he used to be able to just go and
I
go.
know.
Now I just sit down for a little while. He ties up.
They say you never stop moving, you never grow old.
Oh, man.
I did not. So he thought he won, but no.
Yeah.
No. That was retallied.
Was this a heads up roping contest?
So they say we do the clinic,
yeah.
and they're
all day long.
good.
We're
All day.
working and in the sun and ready.
Those guys are like, hey, we're gonna have a little roping tonight. I don't have a horse,
I didn't bring a horse.
and
Sounds like you guys are on foot.
Yep, the manager at Tongue River.
oh, for Pete's sake,
Oh,
I am that
TJ.
old. TJ says, oh, I got a horse for you, no problem, no
Yeah.
problem.
Well,
I'm
what
like,
they're
all
like?
right.
Well, what end do you want to rope? They'd
Yeah, what
ask
end
ya.
you want to
Yeah.
rope? And it's not, it won't be long.
Yeah.
Probably be 20, 30 teams. It won't be a big deal. So, okay, we get in. They have they decide
Oh.
the last minute to have a round robin. There's
180 teams or something like that.
It's insane. We start at 10.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, at night. Yeah. So they bring him a head horse, and somehow I get a heel horse.
And he's doing pretty good. So I get on I go in on my first run. I haven't been on forever. And you're thinking, a bunch of old roped out steers, won't be a big deal.
No,
They haul it.
motored. Like, this pin is at least 300 foot long, and there was a lot of them that did not even get thrown out.
Unbelievable.
Wasn't Crawford with you guys in this?
Yes,
Yeah.
but he didn't get in the roping.
I think he went to bed.
Loser.
He's old.
I know. He's not young, like vibrant like us. So the first one, I nod, and I am left there in the box. We're hauling down there. I'm not going to get a shot. I blow my spoke right when I decide to chuck it, and I rope myself and 2 hind feet, and I'm heading.
And this is
As
a guy
it goes
that's
in.
bragging about winning.
And you're the clinician.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, not the roping
Not the
clinician.
roping.
Right. No one called
Still.
me for that.
Still.
It's terrible. And I'm thinking, what in the world was I thinking? Why did I even think this was a good idea? And this one's knocking him down in 8 seconds, 8.5, just killing it. And it doesn't even want, I try to sit by him, he won't talk to me, acts like we don't know each other. Sitting all by myself. Luckily, my second steer, someone turned the eye off because I'm not going to be late this time. And it roped him in 7. Killed all of his 8-second runs.
Yeah. Thanks.
That night, he's like, hey, I think I won that because, we quit after the one deal. I'm like, oh, no, you didn't.
No.
And then he wouldn't believe me. I had to find my partner, Bullwhip, to make him believe that we had one in 7.
Your partner's name was Bullwhip.
Yeah, of course
Yes.
I'm going to believe them. With somebody that comes up with the name of Bullwhip.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever, sir. Yeah,
But
you're the champion.
But now he knows. We went back to the video footage.
Yeah.
It was beautiful for me all the time. Sometimes I'll just randomly send him a text.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Reserve champion. What do you think this is, a quarter horse world, Joe?
Yeah. Anyhow, I don't know how we got there, but I love telling the story.
Right. No,
Yeah.
that's it. That's the beautiful thing about this deal. I think.
I got one on Matt. Finally, I finally beat him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he let everybody know, too. Yeah.
How did we get there?
I don't know.
No, where were we?
We were talking about Matt's roping prowess,
Oh yeah,
There you go.
the horse champion.
and he was
That's right.
he's been able to capitalize on his roping prowess with the AQHA Ranching Heritage events.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty good source of income. Looks like.
Yeah, and fun.
And
Heck
fun.
yeah. Anytime you get to rope one and you can make money doing it, heck yeah. Game on. Yeah, and kind of just ride them horses around and go have fun at these horse shows. It's a
Win-win.
That is exactly it.
Just don't tie yourself to the saddle horn.
Yeah, exactly. Just be careful.
Tie your foot to the saddle horn. I don't know if I've ever heard anyone tying their own foot to the saddle horn.
I would not recommend it.
He's truly gifted.
Truly gifted. Yeah, the closest thing I've got is I was heading up one and my heeler missed and come back and anyway, not supposed to be a big deal. Ends up my horse spins back into the rope and wraps around us twice and starts bucking. And I'm like, same deal, like, well, this is so I always wondered how the last chapter was gonna go.
Yeah.
And this is it, apparently. So there I am, tied to this horse, both legs tied to the sides of my horse.
Can't
and
get
he's
out.
bucking, and there's a steer on the end. So as he bucks, everything gets tighter, and his feet get drawn up. I see out of the corner of his eye, that self-preservation look.
Yes.
Like, I'm about to kill us both to get out of this wreck.
Yeah.
So I just, like, I don't know what, I had like a moment of clarity. It was really weird. Same deal, slow motion. Like, all right, well, I don't know what to do. So I'm going to kick my coils and push out of the top of this deal and see if I can get myself
Get
clear.
out.
Because there's, I stayed there. Stubbornness has already got me into this wreck because I was like, I can surely I can stop him from turning left and turn around. If I turn, all he's got to do is turn around to the right twice.
That
we
will
can
be fine.
out. Not happening. And so I push out of the top. I land about 10 feet away from this horse. I'm like, holy crap, it worked. I just saved my life. It's awesome. And that's when I had the feeling that Russell was talking about a minute ago of the rope coming tight around your leg.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no. Now I'm on my belly, getting drugged backwards. The cow is right above my head. Like, I'm ropes around my leg. This is a terrible predicament. My horse takes off, and I'm dragging across the arena. I roll over on my back, reach for my knife, which I've lost in the melee. So got no knife, tied to the horse, dragging out on my butt, dragging across the arena. Grace of God, my boot comes off my foot. Not all the way off, just a little bit off my... How that worked, I don't know. No idea how I come clear. But like I say, luckily, that was probably the worst wreck I've been in that didn't in any injury.
Yeah.
No injury. And it's always just, it was right before the world's greatest 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I try and get myself in a bubble this time of year. I always do stupid things this time of year.
I think the best roping story was when you roped Justin Lawrence.
Oh, that was
when you were trying to heal a
that
cow.
was awesome.
Justin Lawrence was a foot.
This is a wonderful story, and I may interject here. Matt and I are both turning back at the Derby during the Celebration of Champions, and this has been several years ago. You were showing Blue Blood
first
in the
year.
World's Greatest, and turning back on him for the Derby the previous week.
Yeah, that's all I had for a turn.
Can't get enough.
No.
Cal, we're cutting in the Watt. Cal gets out of the arena, and it's in the loping area, and I throw one loop at him in the loping pin, and he shucks his head at it, and I miss him. A guy runs over to the gate, is holding the gate shut, a horseback. The cow pushes under his horse, knocks the gate open, and is loose in the parking lot behind the Watt Arena. And me and Matt are in pursuit on show horses across the asphalt. Matt's got a 40-foot rope, and he throws all of it. And you watch it, the loop getting smaller as it travels. And there's just enough loop, and it's right around his head. And that's all there was. And we're at a trot, and he's getting dallied, and everything comes tight, and that cow goes around the gate, the big gate there shut. Anybody's been to Fort Worth to Will Rogers, the big gate that you go through, there's square concrete pillars in front of it, and around the corner there's a manhole, and there was two guys working on something underground. And everything comes tight just as this cow goes around this corner and it bellers. And these two guys are liking to throw their hands up and try to figure out how they're going to save their life. Matt's got a brand new, what kind of rope was that?
It was just a poly. Yeah, just a King's poly.
Yeah.
But
he wraps it around this concrete pillar and just ruins this brand new rope. Well, by now the cattle crew has showed up. They've already they've fell one horse on the asphalt.
They dropped one horse.
They dropped one horse just trotting over there trying to get to us.
And here we're loping across it, roping stuff on our world's greatest horse.
Yeah, and Justin Lawrence gets out there afoot. He gets him by the tail. We get him unwrapped around this pillar, and we start him back towards the arena. And I'm like, well, I'll just throw me a heel shot. And Justin's got this cow by the tail. I'll just rope around Justin and heel this cow. Well, I roped Justin. I don't know why I did it anyway, but I roped Justin. So now we've got Matt trotting down the asphalt with a cow behind him, Justin holding on to the tail of this cow, keeping him back there on the end of it, and I've got a rope on Justin.
It wouldn't have been so bad if you hadn't stopped and dallied.
Well,
it didn't slow him down any. Justin Lawrence just drugged that horse.
We're just sliding down. Yeah, no. But, that was a fun day at the horse show.
That's
there.
it. Because I think the next day was the herd work for the world's greatest, and I think that was the year Blue Blood won the herd work. So I guess maybe we need to try that again.
Yeah.
I think that might have been one of them days. It was one of those talk to me, Cougar. Let me take you on in. Me and Brad Lunder getting our man Matt here out, and we've got this plan in place. Like, we've watched cows and we have a plan of what we're going to do when we go down there. And Matt glazes all the way over. And Matt looks like he's just sorting stuff at the ranch and chucking his hand down. And I mean, it was awesome. It worked great. Went on. We did good. I mean,
So much for that plan.
no plan.
No plan.
A plan had been aborted all the way.
It happens.
Hey, I'm with you, man.
Yeah.
We have lots of these stories. I mean, me and Matt, we help each other all the time at these horse shows, so we have tons of stories about where we just brown out and like abort mission.
And you can see it in their, in Chris's face. You're like, well, I might as well just sit over
Not
and be
this
quiet.
time.
Yeah, he's not going to take my advice. The heck with him.
And there's two ways it can go.
Yeah, that's it.
The beauty afterwards is when you can say, I told you so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My absolute favorite one. I don't know if you were there when Lundy, we had talked about a cow and it was the worst cow in the pen. It was terrible. And Jason Jackson was announcing. It was before Darren. We're in the Will Rogers cutting. And there's one cow that we're like, we're not cutting this cow. And I turned around to cut my last cow, and there's this cow standing in a cut hole looking. And I'm like, and Lundy says, Doss, do not cut that cow. I'm like, you're right.
But I got this.
But he wants it, Lundy. He wants it. It's like, Doss, do not cut that. I'm like, Lundy, he wants it. And now I hear Jason Jackson laughing in the announcer stand.
At your argument.
At our argument before I cut my third cow. And in my defense, it was the best cow I cut all week at that horse show. I don't think I won any money at that horse show, but that was the best cow.
But you did cut one good cow.
One good cow, and it was the one cow we were not supposed to cut.
Yeah. Against
I did
consultation.
I cut. Modesty does not prevent me from saying that I did cut him pretty, though. I mean, and they say a good cow cut bad is a bad cow
Wait
cut
a minute.
good.
How does that go?
A bad cow cut good is better than a good cow cut bad. So what about back to the page here? This is why we keep notes. This is too much ADD in one room.
Focus. Who says you can't make it with ADD? Whatever.
So talk a little bit more about the Ranch and Heritage events. That's a great deal, right? I mean,
So the breeders, so the horses that are eligible for those events, the breeders raise so many horses a year for the last, I can't remember what it is, 5, 6, 10 years, something like that, and then raise a certain amount of cattle to make them eligible, and then so your colt's eligible, they pay him up, and then you get to come to these ranching heritage events. So you do a little rein work, go down the fence, and then you get to rope it. So like I say, it's a lot of fun. You get to see, like for me, I get to see some of the ranch cowboys come to town, and so you get to hang out with those guys. And then for like the horses, like I show like Opus and Sparkles and stuff like that, you can take those horses in there. It takes pressure off you and them, so you just get to go in there and go have fun.
Right on. And they have those, like most of the stock shows are having them. There's one in conjunction with the Snaffle Bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
we have them at all our majors. There for a while, we had them at all our majors.
Yeah, so I think just the Snaffle Bit's the only time we have it at a major event now. But yeah, there's 5 or 6 every year, I think, kind of between Montana and Colorado and Texas down here.
And then you've been hanging out with the Ranch Cowboys. You've been a part of, we were talking about the Tongue River Invitational. You've been pretty instrumental there in helping with the ranch clinics that we've been trying to get involved and trying to get some of those ranch cowboys to come and to follow a little bit of your lead and be able to use your horse all week and bring him to the horse show. And talk a little bit about that clinic there at Tongue River. I remember you guys saying it was very impressive.
Yeah, it was a blast. I mean, it was fun. The guys were all great to help and really wanted to learn, and then they were all really mounted. I mean, heck, there was a lot of horses there that could come to the cow horse deal and be competitive. And so that was my main goal going down there, was just try to help bridge that gap between the ranch world and the horse show world, because like a lot of the ranch guys, and including myself at first, you're real intimidated by the horse show deal. You're like, well, shoot, you've got to look a certain way or you've got to ride a certain way in order to win, you know? And so that's what I was hoping I could do there, was kind of say, hey, you don't have to fit it completely in. I mean, like I say, all these cow horses is just souped up ranch horses, and you put a little polish on them, and you can go be competitive.
You know, early on when I first started going, I was hanging around with Greg Warden. First show or something, I don't know what I was doing. I said something about, well, what do I do if them guys act, if they don't treat me right or something? He says, hey, you don't worry about them. You don't worry about them treating you right. You are what they're pretending to be. You're a cowboy, and this is pretend cowboy, and you don't owe anybody anything, you know, and it really made me feel good. But then when I got there, everyone was so wonderful. Yeah. Anyways, you know, that thought of, you know, what's it going to be like when I go there? I'm just this ranch guy, and they've got all the pre-saddles and everything. In the cow horse, it's just not that way.
No, it's fun because, like, for me, it's fun. Like, when I go, like, help do with ranch work and stuff like that, they're always asking about the cow horse world. Well, when I go to the cow horse world, well, they always want to know about the ranch world. I mean, it's all related there, and it's funny how it all works.
I think we all know in our deal that that's exactly what it is, though, that we're just emulating stuff at the ranch. You know what I mean? And I don't feel like there's the pretenses, you know. I mean, you see a lot of those guys that do come from the ranch, and just like you're saying, Russell, they act a little intimidated when they show up there a little, you know. And so, I mean, I think everybody tries to go out of their way because, shoot, would way rather, you know, be able to do the stuff that they do every day, you know, but we're just not tough enough. And you know what I mean? And I don't really like riding out there when it's that cold. And so luckily I found a way to make a living to where I don't have to. But,
I want to be an indoor cowboy.
Right.
Is there a video app for this?
Exactly.
Yeah, I really, that's what drew me to the cow horse. I don't know about you, Matt, I felt like it was just the culture that I had grown up with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I say. It was an inviting group of people. Like, I remember when I first showed up, all the guys that went out of their way to come introduce themselves and say hi and, like I say, and just make you feel welcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fun.
Yep.
And they're there for you when you get hung up.
Yep, that's exactly it. Yeah, I mean, they'll put their life in jeopardy to come save yours.
Yep.
So after Haythorns, how long were we at Haythorn?
4 years.
4 years. And then could you go straight to Wagon Hound from there, or what did you do after that?
Yeah, so it was after I won the world show, I think, the first time. Yeah.
If you can remember
the
which
first
time.
I can't count them.
Hey, was that?
Count them.
Did you have a one horse? Did you bring a one horse
the
trailer?
First year. Yeah, the first year I went.
This is awesome.
So I had to go to the Ranch Rodeo Finals in Amarillo, and so we took a load of horses. The ranch took a load of horses, and I brought Blue Blood, and they're like, well, you just need to take that one horse to Oklahoma City. Why don't you just take that old one horse out there? I was like, all right. So I hook it behind my flatbed pickup and head to the world show with my one horse and a bedroll, and I go to Robbie Boyce's there at Cowan's, and I sleep on the floor in the bar area and in my bedroll and load old Blue Blood up that first morning of the prelims, and I don't have a clue where I'm heading. I get there, and I don't know. I still, to this day, have no idea what parking lot I parked in, this one-horse trailer. I saddle him in the parking lot, and I start trotting down through all them buildings, and I am calling Brad Lund. Brad, where is the arena? Like, this is 6 o'clock in the morning. We start showing at 8, and I hadn't even been in the pen yet. So finally he talks me to where I'm going, so I get in there, and it's just general riding, so you really can't do anything. So, I trot him around the outside twice, I think, and then I go find some empty stall and go put him in it. Go show him, somehow make the finals. Not really sure how that happened, but it did. Load him back in my one horse, go back to Robbie's for a couple days. And they're like, well, you going to take him in there and school him before the finals? Like, well, he seen that arena when we showed him in the prelims. Good enough.
Yeah, why?
Yeah, why go back? Why go through all that extra effort? I think we showed in the finals that night at 7 or something like that. I think I showed up at 6.
You were first out, too, aren't you?
First out. Yeah.
And that was the year I think they held scores.
Yep.
They didn't, I think.
No, they announced them.
Yeah,
I think so.
You never can tell what you're going to get at that horse show.
Yeah, so I had Justin Lawrence and Dennis Moreland were with me, and they were in fine form.
That rolled there, what were you, like a 22 and a 25?
Yep, I think so.
Something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just went and put the whoop down on them right there first out and said, come get some, boys. And
yeah,
everybody
catch
took
that.
a swing.
Yeah, not a clue.
Is that 13?
Yeah, it had to been.
He was 5-year-old?
Yeah, 13.
Yeah, he was a 5-year-old.
He might have just been a 4-year-old because I think I just took him down there because I was like, well, I'll take him this year. And that way I can go see what it's like, and then go back as 5-year-old and be a little more serious about it. Yeah.
Just go see what it's like. Oh, it's
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah,
That's what it's like. Lope in, knock down some
Yeah.
big scores, load up.
Load up, go home, back to the ranch.
So I just can't help but want to really stress that the trajectory that your career was on. I mean, we're talking about 06, not knowing that cow horse is a thing. And in 6 years, 7 years, AQHA world champion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's insane. Like,
Yeah.
that doesn't happen. Hey, for everybody listening, that doesn't happen.
That's
Don't measure
That's
your
not a
success on Matt Koch, because this is ridiculous. And this guy is good at everything. Like,
not a business plan.
He made breakfast this morning. He makes a mean biscuits and gravy. Welds, cooks, and goes down the fence.
When did you get married?
Been
Oh, dang, shouldn't have asked that
13.
one.
Yeah, no, in 13.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
She's in here. Put him on the spot.
Yeah, exactly. We got married when we were working for Wagon Hound.
That would be a
So-
more general and safe answer.
Yeah, there you go. That is a grand old party up there.
Yeah. And so what's going on in 13? You're at Wagon Hound. Did getting married change?
No, because we'd been living together for 3 years or something like that before that. Like, we lived together at Haythorns and then moved to Wagon Hound. And so, yeah, it all, didn't change a whole lot
Flowed
there.
right on
Yep,
in.
flowed right in. Yep.
No kids.
Got one. Yep. One that's 2 now. Yep. Just turned 2.
So it's been 13 what? So you didn't have kids for 5 years? About 5 years?
Yep.
Yeah. She made sure she was going to keep you.
Yeah, exactly.
Make sure
Yeah.
this one's savable
Yeah.
before I have kids with him.
I'm sure he let go of some of that silly stuff.
Yeah, low birth weight anyways. Got that going for us.
So the transition from Haythorns to Wagon Hound, a little more emphasis on the horse show.
Not at first. So, it was I went up there in kind of the mindset of, would ride a few and help start colts and stuff but would still do most of the cowboying work too. Took care of, I don't know how many head of steers we had turned out that summer, 1,800 or something like that, I think. And so that was the main priority. But I think that first year they were having that sale up there. And so, we had to get a bunch of horses ready for the sale also. And so it was take care of your yearlings in the morning or on the weekends or whatever, and then go back and get a lot of them sale horses going and roping and stuff like that. So it was a pretty busy first year there. And then it just kind of started going towards more of the horse show deal the years after that. If they were really shorthanded, I'd go help them, but otherwise I had so many to ride, I was trying to get them all rode.
Couldn't get it all done.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That was probably a little upgrade in facility from Nebraska, though. I know I come up there a couple times, and that was a awesome facility.
Yeah.
Big heated indoor. And
Yeah, it was a great facility. Lots of we had plenty of cattle to work that we got worked out, and the stall barn was heated. The indoor was all heated. It was a really nice facility.
Anybody that has the option, if you have the opportunity to go to Wagon Hound, they've got a great set of colts up there. Their breeding program is really top of the line and worth your energy and effort to go up there and check out their colts and see that place. And just, it's a heck of an experience. Dustin and Matt Kelly and them guys are doing a great job up there. And they've really been big supporters of the NRCHA and the whole industry, cutting and cow horse in general.
Yep.
And it's a super neat place. I've been fortunate enough to ride a few for them and had some luck, and they're great people.
What's been your favorite bloodline?
Good one.
SDP Blue Blood.
Yeah.
And he stands at Darren Miller.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he worked out pretty well. Yeah. Yeah.
Really like those Laredo Blues.
Yeah. I don't know.
Second.
Yeah.
Maybe you're second and fifth.
To me, it's like a good horse is a good horse. Nothing really stands out too much. We've got a variety of all kinds of stuff. As long as they're willing to go to work and kind of be on your side, it doesn't really matter what they are.
What kind of style fits you the best in a horse?
I guess as long as they can run. But yeah, no, like I don't really know. I mean, I just try to keep an open mind and ride them for what they are and kind of go. I mean, shoot, we have everything from metallic cats to Appalachian mountain horses.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, one of the most important horses at the house is one I got from the horse rescue place. That cost me $500. Yeah, but that's what I go doctor on and start
overhead.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's it. So, like I say, I try to keep an open mind on all that stuff and try not to let you've got to have good bloodlines and stuff like that. That sure helps, but I think to keep an open mind and just ride each horse for what they are, sure keeps more in your barn too. I mean,
yeah, a guy can get trapped thinking only one thing works.
Yeah, I mean, heck, one of the nicer horses I got is a big black stud. I mean, he's not a great horse, but he's a good horse at everything he does, and heck, he doesn't even have a left eye. I mean, heck, we still show him in the cow horse the roping, the versatility, and just kind of go do whatever you need to on him.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of keeping horses in the barn, you leave Wagon Hound, and you went and leased a place for a little while before you bought the place you're at now.
Mm-hmm.
Just talk a little bit about the transition from coming from that steady paycheck at Wagon Hound and kind of knowing what you got in front of you and what you're going to do every day to embarking out on your own where, customers come, customers go. Now we've got a little one on the way and, just talk through some of that a little bit.
So, like, when we left Wagon Hound, when we were up there, they had so many horses to ride, we didn't have any outside horses. So we had a couple personal horses, and that was it. So when we decided to make the move, we didn't have a single client. So it was like, well, here we go.
Leap of faith.
Yep, let's roll. And so it worked out. Darren Miller had just had back surgery or neck surgery or something like that. And so I went down to his house for a month and helped start some colts and kind of keep his stuff rode while he was laid up. And then we found this place to lease and then got half a dozen outside horses, I think. And we were able to kind of make that work between the two deals. And then it just kind of started. I mean, heck, we just rode kind of whatever we got, but got pretty lucky and didn't have too many bad ones come in. I mean, a couple that were darn sure broncs and stuff like that. And just little by little, just kept kind of showing what they sent and finding out where you could go with those horses to go win, to put some records on them and keep those owners happy. And that way everybody was kind of a winner. And then, like I say, we built enough horses up that we felt like we could take the next plunge and go buy a place. And we just happened to find a place up there in Colorado that seemed to fit and work or give it a whirl.
And it is a gorgeous facility there. Gorgeous facility. We went up and spent a week there this summer, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, it just, like I say, I wasn't planning on moving to Elizabeth, Colorado, but when I walked in that stall barn in Cena, I was like, holy cow.
Hello.
Yeah, I think we can make this work. And, I mean, it was sure a lot of work. We had to build all the outside facilities and stuff like that, but it's been worth it.
That's fine.
Awesome house. Got 2 kitchens.
Nice.
Not to keep bringing up the food, but I really can't. I feel like people don't understand how much that Matt really took from the ranch lifestyle. Like, I mean, that's where, he makes breakfast every morning. And they can, everybody make sure everybody's on time for work. They show up for breakfast and then they go, go do a little chores, come in for breakfast, and then go back to work every morning. And it's a pretty neat deal.
Yeah, that's fun. So, who was probably your biggest influence?
Shoot, there'd be multiples. I mean, you've got like Don Brown kind of got me introduced to it all. But then Robbie just being, like when I decided to go to the horse shows and stuff, Robbie was there. Like I had somebody to lean on a little bit. And then I met, Chris and then Darren Miller was a huge part of it, kind of helped me with the showing part. And like I say, there's just been tons of people along the way. I was just lucky and just surrounded myself with guys that helped me and that I kind of wanted to be like and fit in with,
And so, like Chris and I have talked to Ron Rawls, and we talk about this a lot. Learning the billing process once you went out on your own, had a family and wife and everything to do, was that much of a struggle for you? Or where did you figure it all out? How did you figure it out?
Yeah, I guess. So, like, I had some introduction to it. Like, when I was working for Lloyd, that was kind of a steady paycheck. They just paid me per ride or whatever. And then I'd have some outside horses, too, and I'd send those bills out. So, and then, like, when Plum went out on her own, Brianna, she kind of took over and did the QuickBooks deal and stuff like that. And I just called a bunch of buddies, and called Chris and Justin Lawrence and Robbie and Brad, and just kind of asked how it worked, and how you kind of went about it, and just kind of tried to follow their footsteps.
Did you have much trouble with the no pays early on?
No, knock on wood, we have been very, very lucky, and all our clients are really supportive and just pretty well on time with all their bills, and so it's been just
nobody would not pay a man of his stature.
True that. So he's got that going forward. Not just everyone has that,
He doubles as a bouncer.
I know. Patrick Swayze.
Yeah. Watched a lot of Roadhouse.
It's intimidating.
So my wife had a question that she wanted me to ask you as far as when you went out on your own, how long, if ever, did it take before you felt like you were established, like you were back, because we kind of didn't see. After you left Wagon Hound, you were a little AWOL at the major events anyway. Yep. Like say you said you were keeping it, a little more local and this and that just to keep the customers happy and stuff. Yep. So how long a process was that?
It probably took 2 years, I bet. I think 1 year I didn't have no snaffle bidders. I think the first year we went on our own there was no snaffle bidders, and then the following year I think that was when I came down with Ronalina Oak and stuff like that, because those would have been the 2-year-olds. So really the first set
of before last.
Yeah, yep. So the first set of charity horses I had show was the 2-year-olds that came that year to start them when we first went out on our own. So like I say, there was 2 years in between there.
So speaking of Ronalina Oak, sold him. He won the fence work at Snaffle Bit Futurity. And then did you show him as a 4-year-old?
Yeah, I showed him through right before the Hackamore Classic, so the Snaffle Bit last year.
Right.
Yep. So I showed him a year
and
off
then
and on.
Sold him to Jessie Telford, and she's been running barrels on him.
Yep.
And they say he's been doing pretty darn good. So that's a cow horse changing gears and chasing the cans.
Yeah, no, that's it. They say he likes it, and that horse could sure run. So that was kind of a neat deal when she called and wanted to run barrels on him. He was like, heck yeah, that'd be real cool to see that.
Yeah. It's neat to see the cow horses go to those different events. We sold one. Well, actually, the horse I was talking about earlier, that the WR, Sarah did Road to the Horse. We sold to Ren Richard, who's been to the finals here the last few years in the calf roping and the head. And I'm not sure where that horse is in his new journey of life, but pretty cool to see those horses go on and catch rodeo careers and how and what kind of transition it takes. I'm interested to talk to some of those guys that have bought them and see how quick they come along, as opposed to something that they get made from another discipline or even one that's been started, with just that rodeo event in mind.
I love the WRs. I just
they
love
do
them.
everything.
I love them. But it just makes sense that they would switch over to it, because our horses have to do so many different things. Stop, run, turn. That's about it. Go to the calf rope and you don't even have to turn. Just run, stop.
Just run.
And man, I see this breakaway deal. I don't know how our horses don't go there and do that.
We just watched. We went to the Fort Worth Rodeo here the other night, and they had breakaway is the first year over there, and they had the semifinals. And the semifinals round, I guess they had 2 semifinals, and they both paid $4,000 to win the round. And then I don't even know what they paid. It'd have been Saturday night that they had the finals. I don't know what the finals paid, but they said they were going to pay out $1 million that weekend.
Yeah,
so,
I saw that.
Wow.
I watched it.
And there's only 8 events, so that's mucho dinero.
Yeah.
I'm not a math major, but that's a lot of money. So it's all about being self-aware, Russell.
Mathematician and speech therapist are out.
Yeah. Check those off the list.
There's always crash dummies.
Yeah. Crash dummy woodworker. It's my strength. I can put a crib together for you in half a day. It took longer than that, didn't it?
No, actually.
Only half a day.
Yeah, it was maybe 3 beers. What do you? How's your interview process been? You ever done an interview like this?
No, I don't think so. I never thought I would be interviewed for stuff like this or let anybody even want to hear what I had to say. So,
Well, we don't know that they do, but
that's good
No,
point.
you told me that they were requesting.
no,
Matt
that's
Cook.
actually you don't know, but I do know it. I had you they could pick the whole world, and I didn't even say, "Hey, who would you want to see?" They said, "Hey, when are you gonna do Matt Koch?"
Yeah.
I mean, geez, hurry up.
Cook.
And Matt Koch.
Guess that's not the worst mispronunciation that he's ever had.
No, not at all. I think the
My
worst was
linguist.
the worst was I was showing in Rapid City and the judge.
Wade Rainey?
Wade
Rainey.
Rainey was up there judging, and who else was the other one? But there was two of them guys up there, and I trot to center, and this guy's like, "Here's Matt."
Oh,
And these guys are looking right at me, and like Wade is about to fall out of his seat. Oh, Lance Shields was the other one. So these two guys are just staring at me, just dying laughing while I'm in there trying to show, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?"
yeah. Well, I feel your pain with the last name deal. Not many things. Pretty easy going in high school, but that's one thing I could get mad enough to fight over. I realize
Mark
now.
Mattson told me, like, when I first found out who you were, I was like, "Who's the crazy guy with the glasses?" He's like, "Oh, it's Russell Dilday." I was like, "Dilday? I can only imagine." He says, he said that he's only been in 2 fights in his life, and they've both been over his last name. But only apparently because the guy didn't want to fight in L.A. Or there would have been a third one that had nothing to do with your name.
That wasn't a fight. That was a close call.
Right.
One time, Scott Clark, when he was running, his wife was the announcer everywhere. So we're at a horse show, and it's late, and they have a banquet. It's afterwards. It's just kind of out in the dark, and everybody's feeling good, and we're all just visiting casually. But everybody's drinking a little bit. And we get around to Gigi Gortner is whining about her last name. I'm like, "Come on, Gigi, really? That's not that bad." And Scott Clark, Carla is walking by, and he turns to her and says, "Carla, what's your biggest fear as an announcer?" And she just turns and looks at me with no, because she could not. It was just caught completely off guard, and that was the answer.
So
Anyhow.
I do have a few just kind of hopefully, maybe they're quick, maybe they're not so quick. I know Ben's going to edit this down. He's awesome.
Yeah. You don't really have to worry about, you don't even have to worry about filling the space as much as you
perfect.
think.
I'm going to ambush you with a couple though. Well,
Bam.
what would you tell I've got 20-year-old self here wrote down, but 18 to 20-year-old self. You go back in time, talk to Matt Koch when he's 18. What do you tell him?
What do you tell him?
Yeah, what are you going to tell him?
Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. Good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck. Figure it out along the way.
Right?
Yeah.
No, that's
What about 25?
25. Probably about the same thing. Yeah. Just stay in the middle.
have faith and
Yeah.
keep your head down.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Surround yourself with good people, or as good as you can find.
He's not really a messiah, okay?
No,
So,
no.
Just because he's got the beard.
I know, he looks like he would be
He never wears sandals, though.
he looked like he'd be such a comforting figure. Nope. You're on your own, kid.
Yep. Good luck.
What's your favorite place to show around the country? You go a lot of places.
There we go.
Like for the majors, Vegas is always fun at the South Point. I mean, Fort Worth has always been good to me. Probably one of the most fun shows would be McCook, Nebraska, I bet, just because, I mean, it's just a small community. Everybody's there to have a good time. It's kind of really the first place I went and shown and met a lot of people. Met my wife there. So I guess it kind of holds probably number one.
That is a fun place. Anybody that hasn't gone to McCook, that's a good laid back little derby to go to in the summertime.
Fun. I think the first time I was there, I got to rope a steer running down the middle of the street that got out in the practice pen.
Lucky.
Frapped it down right in front of a cop car. So that was good. Yeah. But yeah, that's a fun little town to go hang out at for a weekend.
So if there was there's an event that you haven't won yet, because you've won a lot, but you haven't won everything. If you could only pick one more event to win, what would that event be?
Oh, man. Go between the world's greatest and the snaffle bit, probably right up there.
Sure.
They're pretty equal, I think.
Yep. No, it's hard to beat that world's greatest.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely.
Yep. That's definitely mine. Okay, this is a tricky one, I think. I don't know. What would be the most, if you could isolate 5 minutes of your career, what would be the most important 5 minutes that's transpired to date? And career oriented, not childbirth.
Give him a little lead in, like he's talking about in your life. A lot of time there's a 5 minute conversation that you just go back to in your mind a lot.
So it has to actually deal with you. Like when I first showed up and was showing, I think it was at Vegas. It was really the first time I'd ever made an open finals. And I was like, what do I do in the cow, like in the fence work here? And you're like, just go work your cow. And so that always kind of sticks out in my mind is like for that fence work, you just go work your cow. Just go work whatever the cow gods send you, and don't
force it.
Yeah, don't try to make something up or redo it or reinvent the wheel there. So, I mean, that's been one of the biggest, I guess, one of the easiest or the biggest deals that have.
Did you go back to all the time?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We've hit a lot of high points. What about a low point?
Oh, there we go.
A low point.
Biggest disappointment.
Heck, anytime you get a horse and you train it from its 2-year-old year up to the snaffle bit and it tricks you and it's not as good as you want it to be, or you couldn't quite get it trained as its fulfillment or whatever.
Is there one of those that stands out?
No, I don't think there's a single one. I mean, it's just kind of in general. Because like I say, I just hate people spend all that money and send these horses to you, and then like you're like, okay, I think there's a good horse in here. Just be patient, and then it doesn't happen, and then like I just feel bad for them, you know.
Right.
But I mean, that's just part of it. I mean,
absolutely. We take it personal. I mean, like say, as upset as those owners are sometimes because they've spent a lot of money, we're equally, if not more, upset of it and disappointed with it because of the blood, sweat, and tears that we've put into it. And I think sometimes that gets missed from an owner's perspective. And they're like, well, he just took my money for 2 years and then didn't do no good. Like, yeah, because that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah. No.
The thing I hate the most is the phone call after you failed. It's honestly a little bit easier now because we have live coverage all the time. But in the old days, you had to call because they had no idea. You had to call on every horse.
Yep.
And there's a whole lot fewer of them that you get to call and say, hey, we won, or we even did good. I hate letting people down, don't you?
Yeah, that's it. And the horse, you know. You're
And the
like,
horse.
heck, this horse, like, I think this is a good son of a gun. And then, like I say, you had a little hiccup or a flub up, or he just didn't get him trained the way you should have, or however.
Okay, so what about the best win? Whether it was a win, whether it was end up first or whatever.
Probably like winning the fence work last year or 2 years ago for the first time at the snaffle bit. Yep. That was, was pretty cool to me. And then to do it again last year, 2 years in a row, when the fence work and the prelims is, that still kind of gets me that even happened with all the good trainers and all the good horses out there. Still pretty crazy.
What else?
Yeah. What else, Matt? We've all the work here.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, I got one more. What about what's the biggest mistake you see people make? Young trainers, old trainers, non-pros, people training their own. What's if you could isolate that down to a phrase?
Oh, it'd be, something like trying to imitate maybe too much of somebody's certain program that doesn't fit you 100% or whatever. Instead of trying to just be yourself and remember where you are in your horse training career or your abilities at the moment, and along with the horse you're riding. Don't try to make your horse a superstar if he's just a nice horse, just ride him for what he is and keep that horse happy that way, because it seems like if you try to make one into something it's not, it just bites you in the butt instead of just riding a horse for what he is.
What do you think? You're established as powerful in the fence work. It's all over the internet.
Powerful.
So what do you think? What do you see as maybe one of the most common mistakes or misconceptions that people have about either training for the fence work or showing for it?
So, like, I hear every once in a while, like, how crazy I am, and because I'm always going fast and doing this dangerous stuff or whatever. But, like, I don't feel like I'm ever really going that fast because I feel I'm in pretty well full control all the time. Like, those horses are always listening. If I pick my hands up, they go where I point them. Like, I want them more kind of trained than cowy or broke than cowy in a way. So like if something bad does happen, I can just pull up and fix them or put them where I need to go. And
Save your life.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions or whatever is people see me going fast or whatever. Well, they think that's what we do all the time. Well, mine will slow lope down there on a loose rein and go turn the cow, or I can go rope on them or whatever. So it's like, don't put yourself in a bad situation and not be able to get yourself out.
I love that, because I really feel like people will sometimes see the fast fence works and think, wow, he's just risking it all to win. Well, that's consistently fast fence works. If you're risking, it will turn out bad sooner or later.
Yep.
To have consistently great fast fence works, you've got to be in control.
Yeah, that's it. And just have those horses confident and on your side. And I think that's one of the biggest things is I try not to, we still have to train them horses and get into them some, but not have them intimidated. I want to know that they're on my team when I ride in that gate, just in case I do make a mistake or something right there. They're there to cover my butt, and same way, I'm there to cover theirs if they make a mistake.
And when you pick up, they think that you're there to help, not to
punish them there. Yep. I'm there just to kind of help them.
In our industry, what is in the direction of the industry? Let's say just stay in the fence work. What do you see us needing to improve on maybe as a look overall, or even as a presentation?
For me in the fence work, it's just go work your cow for what it is. We've got to have some form to it and stuff like that, but I think sometimes we forget about the function of it, that it's just go work that cow. Don't worry about sometimes the big old stops and the this and that beside it and worrying about every body manipulation or whatever. For me, it doesn't work. I'm just not quick enough right there, and I think it takes away from some of that natural talent of those horses.
Yeah,
trying to be more of a tactician than a technician.
Yeah.
If you focus so much on that huge stop on your horse, sometimes you've got them stuck there and they have a harder time going with that cow. Whereas your thought is, hey, stop, but enough to stay with the cow. It doesn't need to be.
Yeah. Don't use 100% if you only need to use 80.
Yeah. That's good.
I know you've helped me a lot with that because, like say, as my career's developed too, and everything, and you're constantly evolving. Unless you want to start getting beat a lot, you better keep trying to stay current and make sure you're staying ahead of the curve. And I know you've helped me a lot balance my technician with my inner tactician and keep some balance there to it. And like I say, there are a lot of technical things that we have to train on them, but at the end of the day, tactician in you has to come out and just get the job done.
Yeah, to find that happy median right there, what fits your program. Some it's going to, you've got to be more technical on it. And in some, it's going to be like, hey, just let them go work that cow. And as long as they can go work that cow and stay safe, for me, that's the number one deal.
I think the single event guys, the guys that are just doing the cutting and guys that are just doing the reining are able to maybe focus a little more on the technical side of it because there's so few places to separate yourself in as far as the results go. There's only you've got 3 cows to cut in the cutting and you've got these 7 maneuvers in the reining. And so, like I say, I feel like they can be a little more technical, and I think sometimes, there's some misconceptions about our event that, well, they're not quite cutters and they're not quite reiners, but when them guys come and try, they find out like, whoa, there's a little more to this. These guys maybe aren't just the goat ropers that we thought they were, and they're pretty good at this deal.
And you know what, too? That also allows a lot of different styles to be the winner.
Sure.
You can that's probably a great thing I'd say about our industry is that there's so many variables to it that we can see completely different styles mark huge.
Absolutely.
In the fence
That's
or
it.
in the other.
And in having 3 events, you can kind of stub your toe a little bit in one and still be competitive. I don't know how many times I've only marked below a 70 in the rein work and still come out okay.
Those days are being numbered, though.
Yeah, it's not as it's getting tougher, and that's what I say. But like Chris is saying, you've got to work on making yourself better and helping each other. And like I say, I know he's helped me, and a lot of guys have helped me in the first 2 events.
This might be our long. I think that was a 2-hour conversation. Sure.
Chop.
Chop. Get to work, man. Yeah, well, we've really enjoyed having you, Matt, and thanks for your insights. And be ready, because I imagine this will probably spawn some questions.
Yeah, and
from
we'll
the
tap
public,
you again.
And we'll tap you again, whether it might even have to be over the phone. But best of luck next week in the Derby and the World's Greatest. Be looking forward to seeing you there. And and maybe we'll have where can people find you? Like, if they want to
I am
send you
not
a horse.
findable.
Not findable. Off the grid.
Off the
he
grid. You better do some hunting and searching in a snowbank.
Well, somebody that listens to this might want to send you a horse in training.
That's it. But you can get, I think we've got a Facebook page, Cook Cow Horses, and I think my phone number and everything's on there.
All right, we'll have that. Ben will put that in the show notes.
You can find him in the winner's circle.
In the winner's circle, you're darn right.
Next week.
Next week, he'll be the guy that looks like Wade Sundell.
The buff Wade Sundell.
Oh, sweet.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to Cow Horse Full Contact. Please like our Facebook page and follow us on Instagram to stay tuned for future episodes.